Hello and welcome to your astrological vibrations for Monday, May 12th, 2025 by Gaia Blooming. I am Mimi and our energy mantra for today is I value the spice of life. And here we are, full moon Scorpio can be very spicy, so to speak. But actually, beyond a full moon today, we have a full moon yod. So a yod is the finger of God. It's the finger of fate in astrology. And it's pointing at this full moon. This full moon is like, hey, this is an important lesson. This is something you need to know. So that's kind of exciting. Let's talk about a full moon in Scorpio. So Scorpio, I would say, is probably one of the, if not the most intense sign of the zodiac. It is Scorpio's work to dive deep, to say the things that people don't necessarily want to say or hear. It is ruled by Mars and Pluto, two of the most intense planets. So there's a lot of strong energy, to say the least, behind Scorpio energy. And it's so interesting because it pairs with Taurus. And so Taurus is like, la-di-da, here I am just enjoying Earth. And then Scorpio's like, lightning. And yet it's important. And this yod is reminding us how important this is. So we've been feeling this building. It's funny because I have a Scorpio friend. She's like, I'm not feeling anything. I'm just feeling good. And I'm like, that's good. That's great. You're used to this, but not everybody is. So if you've been feeling some intensity the last few days, you've been feeling this energy building. Scorpio is a water sign, so it has a lot of feeling behind it, but it can be like a water sign, like an ice pick, like a very sharp ice pick kind of, or icicle, in the shape of an ice pick kind of an energy. This full moon happens at 9:56 a.m. Pacific time. And what I think kind of intensifies this is that we have right behind it a square between Mercury and Pluto. So Mercury newly in Taurus squaring Pluto in Aquarius. And Pluto is one of the ruling, like I said, we're in one of the ruling planets of Scorpio. So to have this there kind of gives it a little extra jagged edge. I'm thinking of Jagged Little Pill, Alanis, but it gives it a little extra jagged edge to whatever's coming up. So Scorpio is where we need to face the shadows, where we need to face the void, where we need to face what we fear. And we may, again, really experience some of that coming to life as we have Mercury in Taurus, which is like giving us information about our value and everything, but having to face off in a square, which is a challenge, with Pluto. And Pluto makes us face our fears. It makes us face our shadows. It makes us look at those things that we're afraid to look at. So this moon's like, no, you can't just spirit yourself away through this energy. Like, you're gonna have to look at it. You're gonna have to experience it. You're gonna have to feel your way through this. And there's value in that. There's value in the contrast. And that is what this yod is pointing to with this full moon. So it's interesting because part of the yod is Jupiter and Gemini. So it's Jupiter and Gemini feeding in. And then Chiron and Aries feeding in to the moon. This is a fast-moving yod, but all the same, it's there. And I feel like Jupiter and Gemini is like any and all of this, any and all of the contrast, any and all of the shadows, any and all of the fear. You can take it and use it for good. You can take this and benefit from this. And I think Chiron and Aries, it has multi-layers, but the one that I'm really feeling is, I think for so many people, acknowledging our shadows can be one of the hardest things that any of us can do. And we all have shadows. We all have places where we have failed at perfection. Thank goodness. We're not here to be perfect. And if anybody out there is telling you that they're perfect and they have no shadows and they have no shame and they have none of that, it's not true. It's just not true. They can say what they want, but it's not true. And so Chiron in Aries is like, hey, these pieces of you are still part of the whole and holy you that need to be embraced. And Scorpio energy can help us do that. Now, I'm not saying you go act upon some of these shadows. Some of these shadows do need healing. Some of these shadows are very wounded. But some of the things that you consider shadows about yourself are actually some of the most beautiful, dynamic, amazing pieces of you that need to be brought forward as part of your own healing and as part of a larger healing of the world. And so we're experiencing some of this energy with this void. And Scorpio's like, I like your light, bring it forth. I like your dark, bring it forth. So thank you to Scorpio and this moon in Scorpio, which is bringing this stuff to the surface. The moon's always so interesting because while the moon rules our emotions, it can also bring forth and show us our subconscious and our psyche, and especially in Scorpio, there's a lot of depth there to look at and experience. So like I said, the second part of this full moon is this energy of Mercury and Pluto having this square. So I just don't think any of us are tiptoeing through this without having to face something. Now, this could come up in your dreams. It may have already come up. It may come up after the moon. It may come up, in the moment of the full moon. Be aware that today has some heightened and extra charged energy in the fullness of the moon. What's nice is that there's nothing super strongly connected to this moon. So there's not any other major players beyond the yod. Like there's no major players like with the sun in this. However, we're also building to the Sun-Uranus conjunction later this week. And so that will be building, and that might pull some more stuff up to the surface. We'll think of Uranus right now as a beautiful mud mask pulling up the impurities to the surface to be liberated and released. But the moon will reach an opposition with Uranus later. So again, you may feel some of that today as that happens. The moon's also going to be connecting to Saturn, and this is a whole other interesting layer. So Saturn today reaches 29 degrees Pisces. That is the final degree. That is that karmic degree. Pisces already takes us to so many layers, and I do believe that final degree really connects to all time, place, space, and it can bring really interesting karmic stuff to the forefront. Now, part of the energy of Scorpio is transformation, alchemy, death, and rebirth. But it's not death usually in necessarily a traditional sense, but it is like the completion of a cycle and the potential for a new one. It is destruction, creation. And so, again, we might have to face some fears around some of that stuff with Saturn and Pisces. I know this in myself and in my clients. There's many of us who have been here before. All of us, all of you watching, we've all been here before and have witnessed the destruction of empires, so to speak. And I think that can be a really big fear. Scorpio taps us into our root chakra. It taps us into survival. And so you may find some of that stuff coming up to be looked at and moved through. So be extra conscious and aware about these layers of things, and even just like the energies around. Be receptive to that so that you can help move through it. Now, it's interesting because I have the no thingness card, and I think that sometimes Scorpio also can just represent the void. And if it doesn't, 29 Pisces can definitely also represent that void, right? Like, this is where in the zodiac you have like the death of the cycle or the completion of the cycle, and then the rebirth, the new beginning of the next cycle with Aries, which is coming up on the 24th. That'll be when Saturn finishes up. So we got a little time of Saturn's hanging out at this final degree. It feels very long to me. I'm like, wow, is it really that long? Okay. We get to experience that deeply. But the nothingness card is reaching into the void and recognizing how much potentiality there is. And that's part of the beauty of the alchemy of Scorpio energy. I've also got the sorrow card. So like I said, there's none of us who are going to be completely tiptoeing through this. There are going to be some feels, some energies through this. But I want to remind you that the universe, despite this, is friendly. And the contrast, the shadow, any of all of this, it's important and it has value. And we can always utilize it for good. Always. That is always there. And I know some things don't seem very good, but that option is always there. And I think that's part of what this yod with this full moon is reminding us. We've also got the flow card, and the flow card says, allow me, divine, to move with the flow and respond with calmness and peace. Highly recommend responding with calmness and peace, if at all possible, during this full moon energy. And like I said, that Mercury square Pluto, that just feels like it might put us a little bit off center, but it also feels like communication mishaps and anger and power struggles coming up. 2 cards here from Inquire Within. Yes, you can. So empower yourself. That's part of this Scorpio energy. I don't know what it is that you can, but yes, you can. And the other is the gratitude. Gratitude for the full experience of being human, even if you don't feel grateful for it in the moment. The light and the dark have their place. Phew. All right, so may the odds be in your favor. You can book a reading. Email me, mimiclark@gmail.com. And the better it gets, the better it gets. There's more than enough love in the world for you. You have the power. And may your guiding light be strong, because your guiding light can always help you through those times of darkness. And know, light and dark, trust your process. Namaste.